Welcome to our first Summit Council meeting of the month. It's nice to see a lot of people here. It means people care, which is awesome. So I'm looking forward to a great meeting. With that, let's get our meeting started. Madam Clerk, will you please read the adequate notice of compliance statement?
Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by the City Clerk's Office in preparation of the Council Annual Meeting Notice dated December 16, 2024, which was properly distributed and posted per statutory requirements. Please be advised that fire exits are to my right, your left, and at the back of the room. The city has a listening system to assist the hearing impaired. If anyone needs hearing assistance, please obtain the system at the dais and return it thereafter.
Fantastic, thank you. Roll call, please.
Mr. Boyer?
Present.
Ms. Hamlet?
Here.
Ms. Kalmanson?
Here.
Mr. Pulaski?
Here.
Mr. Smallwood?
Here.
Ms. Toth?
Here.
President McTiernan?
Present. All right, at this time, I'd like to call on one of our residents, Joseph Brown, to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you, Joseph. All right, Madam Clerk, will you please read the explanatory note regarding closed session and hearings and comments, please?
A closed session meeting as authorized by state statute was announced and held prior to the start of this meeting, and the known items for discussion were listed on the published closed session agenda. Please be advised that tonight's council meeting will be broadcast live on Verizon channels 30 and 33 and the city's YouTube channel. This meeting will not be broadcast this evening on Comcast channels 36 and 34, as we are currently experiencing technical difficulties. The meeting will be rebroadcast on Thursdays and Saturdays on HTTV, on Comcast 36 and Verizon 33. When invited to speak, please come to the lectern, clearly state your name and address, spell your last name, and speak into the podium microphone so that your comments can be understood by all and properly recorded. Whenever an audience or council member reads from a prepared statement, please give or email a copy to the city clerk at cityclerk@cityofsummit.org. To help facilitate an orderly meeting and to permit all to be heard, speakers shall limit their comments to 3 minutes. Unless you are using an electronic device to follow the meeting agenda or need it for professional emergency contact purposes, please turn it off. Thank you.
Thank you very much. At this time, do I have a motion to approve the minutes for regular and closed session of May 20th, 2025?
So moved.
Excuse me, Council, did we get the minutes for the regular session? For
Yes, I
Oh,
sent them immediately after the closed session.
okay. I missed those, sorry.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. At this time, we are into our report section of our meeting. As always, Madam Mayor, can you lead us out?
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Thank you to everyone who came out for the Memorial Day parade and ceremony. It was a meaningful opportunity to honor and remember those who gave everything to protect our country. We had a great turnout, beautiful music from the Summit High School Marching Band, and an incredible effort by the Department of Community Programs and student volunteers, including Delia Hamlet's daughter, who gave a moving reading of the Gettysburg Address. Congratulations to Delia for her award as well. Looking ahead, this weekend brings the Summit Has Pride event on the Village Green, taking place on June 7th. The event will feature live music, activities, and more. On June 20th, we will have our Juneteenth celebration also on the Village Green. There will be great performances and speakers for all to enjoy. You should be soon receiving the summer events calendar. It will include everything from our summer concert series and Screen on the Green to the 4th of July celebration, and more. Keep your eye out for it so you can take full advantage of all of the great things happening in Summit this summer. I want to recognize Captain Mike Triber, who has retired after 25 years of dedicated service with the Summit Police Department. Throughout his career, Captain Triber has played a pivotal role in ensuring the safety and security of our community. We are thankful for his unwavering commitment to keeping Summit a safe place for all residents and visitors, and we wish him all the best as he embarks on the exciting new chapter in his life. I think he was on a tractor today or something, so seems to be figuring it out. Before we close, I want to take a moment to speak about the importance of community, especially in light of the egregious and deeply disturbing attacks targeting Jewish individuals in Washington, D.C. and Colorado. Summit is a diverse community, and we pride ourselves on being neighbors first. We celebrate our differences, learn from one another, and when we disagree, we do so with dignity and respect. To any of our Jewish neighbors who may be feeling unsettled or unsafe, please know my door is always open. And if anyone experiences or witnesses a hate crime, I urge you to contact our police department immediately. Let's remember what truly matters, being neighbors and friends, regardless of our backgrounds, religions, or points of view. Thank you.
Well spoken, Madam Mayor. And it sounds like June is going to be a fun month. Yeah, which is great. Okay, our city administrator report. Ms. Baldwin.
Thank you, Council President. First of all, we're pretty excited to share the news that our 2025 summer internship program received a record-breaking number of applications this year. Unfortunately, we can't take them all, but it does reflect a growing interest in the opportunities that we offer here in the city of Summit. After a competitive selection process, 8 talented individuals from town were extended internship offers. We're pleased to report that 7 of those offers were accepted. 6 of our interns began their journey with us yesterday, and we're eagerly anticipating the arrival of our 7th intern who will be joining the team in July. Over the next several weeks, each intern will contribute to a dedicated project aligned with their interests and our organizational goals. And these projects are designed to provide hands-on experience while adding meaningful contributions and value to the work that we do here in the city of Summit. We're looking forward to a productive and inspiring month ahead, and we plan to invite the interns to our next council meeting, where they'll have the opportunity to come up to the podium and present updates on their projects and share insights from their time with us thus far. Also, Summit Free Market. The June Summit Free Market events will be held on Saturday, June 14th from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. and on Friday, June 27th from 12 p.m. to 2 p.m. at the transfer station. Summit residents with a parking disposal permit can attend and browse donated items and take what they want for free. Donation guidelines are available at cityofsummit.org/free market. Early voting for the June 10th primary election began today at specified locations throughout Union County. Now through Sunday, June 8th, registered voters can vote early at any of the included locations. You can go to our website or the County Board of Elections website to view the early voting sites and get more election information. And lastly, Wednesday, we have Wednesday's Fitness on the Green. So our Fitness on the Village Green series continues this month on Wednesdays from 6 to 7 p.m. Each week features a different type of fitness class. It's a great way to spend time outside, meet neighbors, and get in a great workout. So the schedule is available on the city website if anyone would like to join. And that concludes my report.
Thank you so much. Wow, that's like almost a challenge to go to that workout. All right. For my council president report, I thought I would just update the public on where we are on our affordable housing process. There was a planning board meeting was it last week? Last week, where there were two potential developments that were presented, one by our city planner, and then another by Representative of Onyx, who presented a proposal that they were looking to have included into our plan. So I just want to give a little, for people who are new to this or just watching from home, affordable housing is nothing new in Summit. Summit's been engaged in creating affordable housing for over 60 years. So it's something that predates state mandates, anything having to do with legislative laws or anything like that. So Summit has been an advocate and a leader in building and providing affordable housing for our residents for literally now generations, which is great to see. We are now, though, in the Mount Laurel era. So Mount Laurel, for people who don't know, it's a town in New Jersey that was sued by a developer in order to build a large development to provide affordable housing. Their zoning didn't allow it. They went to court, and because the state constitution has this requirement to provide affordable housing, the builder won. And this created a whole series of laws in order to allow communities to manage their affordable housing obligations without having to result in lawsuits constantly from builders. And that became what is called the Mount Laurel Doctrine. We are finishing round 3 of Mount Laurel. These things have lasted for 10 years. So the first one supposedly began in 2015, but it wasn't really finished and negotiated until 2016 or 17, I can't remember. That ends on June 30th. We had our agreement was that we would provide best effort opportunities to construct 50 affordable units. I'm happy to say in the last 10 years, I think our number is 62. So we're very proud of that effort, and we're looking to have that ratified sometime this week, just to sign off that round 3 is, the books are closed on that. Round 4 is beginning, and there was a law that was passed last year, about almost a full year ago, that was dictating how round 4 would work. There's a lot of calculations and numbers. It's new. Round 3 process was all an adversarial process that went through the courts. Every town had to get sued, have a court hearing, and make a court settlement. This is supposed to be a little less court-centric. We'll see how that all plans out, but our obligation, we were told what our obligation was around affordable units in February. This was a math exercise that's created in the legislation, and it ended up that Summit was told we had a need of 345 units, affordable units in town. The traditional way a lot of these units have been created is through builders building these things. They usually do a set aside, so it's usually 15% for rentals, 20% for sale units. So if it was 15 units, that would mean that we'd have to create over 2,000 new units if it was all done through developers. Now you could do some 100% inclusive, affordable that would lessen that need, but it's a big number. The reality is for Summit, round 3, we argued that we're a built-out community. Anyone who's driven around Summit, it's pretty obvious. There's not a lot of spare land floating around. We don't have a lot of farms and orchards and things like that the city can control. So we will look to amend that number going into the end of this month. We have an obligation to present a plan by June 30th. Right now, we have been engaging with developers over the last couple of months who have proposed some different developments. Some have been rejected out of hand as being too dense. There's been some negotiation back and forth on a couple of other ones. But ultimately, it's the planning board that gets to decide this. There is a very small window, unfortunately, for public input. The public, sadly, because these negotiations are pre-discovery, they are legally, you're not allowed to talk about them. That ended at the planning board, and so I would encourage everyone who has interest in this to go look at the documents that are on the planning board's website. Get involved, please. Reach out to me, other members of council, with your thoughts, planning board members. They are going to have a hearing on this on June 23rd, which will be open to the public. That's when they will adopt a plan. That plan will then go to us, Common Council, for approval on the 24th. By that time, though, we don't really have much choice. We have to put a plan in by June 30th, or we will be open to these builder lawsuits, just like what happened in Mount Laurel. And then we can't control what goes in our town. So that's the process. And as I said, We've been following the legislation. It is frustrating to not have the ability to kind of engage with the community on different options and things like that. I am very, very happy that that time has finally arrived, and I know it's frustratingly narrow, but I encourage, and please, if you care about our community, as I know we all do, take a moment to look and have an opinion, talk to elected officials about it, so that we can get as much public input into this very narrow window as we can. And that is my public comment. Or not my public comment, that's my council president report. Okay. So, we have an ordinance for
Is there a historic minute?
oh yeah, we
tonight?
have an historic minute. I almost forgot about that. I apologize, Councilman Pulaski.
That's quite all right.
Yeah, so a historical minute. Councilman Pulaski.
So I have a historical minute on the Mount Laurel Doctrine, low-income housing, and Summit. Some of this may be a little bit duplicative of what Council President just said, but it's still pretty short, so I think if you guys bear with me, we'll get through it just fine. The Supreme Court of New Jersey says Summit, like all municipalities, has a constitutional duty not to exclude viable opportunities to construct affordable housing. The legislature took this Mount Laurel Doctrine, or Mount Laurel, as it's often called, a step further in the Fair Housing Act. The act essentially requires each municipality to facilitate its fair share of affordable housing decade after decade, each decade referred to as a round. The spirit of Mount Laurel is to promote economic diversity throughout New Jersey, while still allowing municipalities like Summit to choose realistic options to create and/or maintain affordable housing that work optimally for that municipality, the latter being the concept of home rule. Of course, this is nothing new for Summit. Economic diversity has always been a hallmark of the Hill City, which was once known as Poverty Hill. So when housing on Glenwood Place, home to lower-income families in Summit, became woefully substandard in the 1960s, Common Council and Hill citizens jumped into action. The council pledged to match private donations to fund the Glenwood Place Rehabilitation Program, which is the 40-unit housing development we see there today. Our residents raised over $632,000 through private donations and not through taxes in the late 1960s. Let's put that in perspective for a minute. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, that $632,000 is equivalent to $6.1 million today. The city never did need to match the number since federal funding ultimately covered the balance, according to a May 20th, 1971 Summit Herald article. The same article notes, Summit opted to build the development right on Glenwood Place, quote, to keep dislocations to an absolute minimum and because of a marked scarcity of vacant land elsewhere. I note that over half a century later, Summit still has a marked scarcity of vacant land. Two more developments followed at Weaver Street and the Vito Gallo building for a total of 195 low-income housing units. Now, most people equate low-income housing, which is for households with earnings at or below 50% of regional median family income, with affordable housing, which is for households with earnings up to 80% of regional median family income, but they are different. Notwithstanding, under Mount Laurel and the Fair Housing Act, low-income housing counts towards municipalities affording housing numbers, but for some reason not in Summit. Apparently, Summit's historical preference to its own residents for low-income housing is a big no-no with Trenton, and units for preferences count a whopping 0 towards our numbers. Still, I know of no other similarly situated municipality with the economic diversity we have in Summit. A telling example is that 15% of Summit High School students receive free or reduced price meals, compared to just 1% in our neighbor Chatham. Don't get me wrong, the Mount Laurel Doctrine proclaims a noble aspiration for which every municipality should strive, that of inclusionary affordable housing. But in practice, fair share enforcement has become a home rule eviscerating nightmare, controlled not by each municipality, but by the affordable housing industrial complex. Builders, planners, lawyers, consultants, and other professionals, and some say the politicians they support. What do I mean by this? Well, even though the law requires a town like Summit not to be exclusionary, and maybe even to take affirmative steps to create opportunities for affordable housing, we need builders to fund it. And builders will fund it, but they exact a heavy price in the form of density. They'll provide affordable housing, but only if we let them overdevelop our city by providing just one affordable for every 5 units built. Summit likewise is compelled to spend countless dollars on other professionals, all to achieve something it already has. Indeed, if economic diversity were truly the goal of Mount Laurel, Summit would be roundly commended for its demographics as they now stand, and which existed long before a bunch of politicians and bureaucrats took it upon themselves to dictate our fate. Instead, Summit is vilified by our own residents in many instances, and cowed into more and more developed and more density. Wouldn't all that money be better spent upgrading Glenwood, Weaver, and Vito Gallo? Anyway, the law still allows Summit to decide for itself how to best meet its affordable housing obligations over the next 10 years in round 4. But if we sit on our rights, if we succumb to threats of builder's remedy, along with governmental and quasi-governmental overreach from fair share housing, we will lose those rights. If we accede to the scourge of new urbanism, we will cease to be the charming suburb we all know and love. We will no longer be Summit. So I ask everyone to keep this history in mind as public input continues regarding our round 4 affordable housing planning, and know that Summit will provide a plan consistent with the law, with our master plan, and with our values.
Thank you, Councilman Pulaski. Okay, now we're getting to the meat of our meeting this evening. We have a couple of ordinances for hearing. Madam Clerk, will you please read the first ordinance from Community Programs and Parking Services?
Ordinance number 25-3341, an ordinance to amend the code, Appendix A, Schedule of Fees contained in the revised general ordinances of the City of Summit, A, fees to be collected by the Parking Services Agency.
Thank you very much. Councilman Smallwood.
Thank you, Council President. This is ordinance number 25-3341 to increase daily visitor pass fee and remove bulk discount on parking passes for visitors. This is typically for downtown businesses that purchase these passes for visitors, such as auditors or temporary employees. Contractors who do not require access to their vehicles also tend to use these passes instead of buying on the street space for the day. The last time this price adjustment was in 2006. It went from $4 to $6. And the proposed is going from $6 to $7. The current cost of each visitor pass is approximately $2.20. Given that daily parking is $4, a proposed price increase to $7 would offset the cost of both the pass as well as the daily parking fee. I move this ordinance for hearing.
I second.
Thank you. All right, I'm going to declare the hearing open for public comments at this time. Just to reiterate or to reminder, if you do wish to make a comment, please approach the podium, state your name and your address, and please try and limit your comments to 3 minutes so everyone gets a chance to speak and we can get out of here at a reasonable time. So, anyone like to speak on this ordinance? No, 3341. Yep. Okay, seeing none, we're going to close the public comment portion of the hearing. Would anyone from council like to speak and chime in? All right, we're going to close the hearing. Move on to our second ordinance for hearing. Madam Clerk, will you please read the safety and health ordinance, please?
Ordinance number 25-3342, an ordinance amending Chapter 3 Police Regulations of the Code of the City of Summit to add a new Section 3-19 entitled Camping on Public Property.
Thank you very much. Councilwoman Ham. I'm sorry, Councilman Boyer.
No, that's all right.
Sorry about that. My notes are
Councilman can
wrong.
read it. No, yeah, this is ordinance 25-3342. So, just a little backstory. It won't be long because I feel like this is my third time reading this. I think it is. So we began this process by listening to residents, business owners, and our unhoused neighbors. Their concerns shape the foundation of this process. So those concerns came into committee. We then brought it to our Law and Labor Committee, which includes our city solicitor. We reviewed the ordinance with our municipal prosecutor, who joined the process. We introduced the draft to the public, welcoming feedback and criticism, not as obstacles, but as essential input. We revised, clarified, and then codified. So this ordinance now reflects our commitment to compassion, coordinated responses by clearly laying out expectations in law. Specifically, it reinforces service-first responses by codifying the practice of prioritizing connections to housing and support services before enforcement actions. It codifies protections for individuals without access to shelter, ensuring no one faces penalties. It affirms diversion pathways by encouraging continued court practices that favor behavioral health or social services interventions before considering penalties. It codifies our existing mental health response by authorizing, where necessary, involuntary commitment for individuals posing a danger due to mental illness, ensuring that treatment, not punishment, remains the guiding principle. Council President, I move this ordinance for a final hearing.
Second.
Thank you. All right, at this time, I'm going to declare the public comment portion of this hearing open. Anyone would like to speak on this ordinance? Just approach the dais. Come on up. Tom, you can come. Yeah. Everyone will get a chance to speak.
Good evening. My name's Tom Zieber, 768 Springfield Ave. In general, every governmental body is responsible for balancing competing interests. It's simply impossible that a city council or a legislature or an executive or the office holder of any public office can exist without having to balance the needs of different members of its constituency. So with that in mind, I'm extremely proud to say that our council has done exactly that with the Camping on Public Property ordinance being voted on at this meeting. After careful deliberation, consultation with experts, and consideration of feedback from the public, council has arrived at a final ordinance that balances the interests of vulnerable individuals in need of housing with the public's interest in having access to safe and welcoming public space in Summit. Those concerned about this ordinance should consider the following. This council has clearly made a sincere and significant attempt to help the city's homeless from being fined or arrested. This ordinance clearly demonstrates compassion for the unhoused and is in no way draconian. It shows a commitment to due process by requiring notice to a prospective violator that they must remove non-dangerous public property from a particular space. It provides for storage of removed property for a period of time, thereby preventing unnecessary loss of belongings. It gives the court of jurisdiction discretion to consider aggravating or mitigating circumstances, and it provides alternatives to penalties such as court-ordered participation with social workers or behavioral health professionals. In passing this ordinance, council will have succeeded in giving individuals every chance to accept assistance in bettering his or her own situation while fulfilling its commitment to preserve public safety and residents' ability to use public spaces. So I commend and congratulate the council on both the result and the process in crafting this ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I'm going to email.
Perfect.
I'm going to email it.
Okay.
Yeah, I forgot to mention that. If you have, like, if you're reading from a statement, please drop it off with the clerk so she can put it into the public record, or you can email it to her at a later time. All right, other comments? Please approach.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, Council. We'll be remaining anonymous tonight. Just want to mention a couple things. Originally, when this ordinance was introduced and had its first hearing, that's what compelled me to come out and share my opinions on it. That was when, before it was opened up for the for the hearing, we had done away with the sleeping aspect of it. If you guys remember, when I came up and spoke, that's why I said, oh, I was very happy to hear that. Had napping or sleeping, if it was never originally in the ordinance, I personally would have never been here. What I was in fear was the unintended consequences for arresting someone who needs arrest. I don't know the closed door conversations or the personal conversations that were had amongst all of you, but I would imagine Councilwoman Michelle maybe shared some of the unintended consequences to an ordinance with such improper language. I'm glad you guys have taken the necessary steps to fine tune it and get it a little bit more in compliance with the law. Because the unintended consequences for jailing someone or fining them for napping, I mean, it goes on and on. You could imagine the scenarios. And we don't want to put we don't want to put police in a situation where that's okay, you know? And then, if I remember correctly, it was originally voted on, like, Councilman Boyer, and I believe Councilman Pulowski voted originally for when it was amended, when you guys tabled it, correct? 2 council people voted that it shouldn't be tabled at that stage of the game, am I correct?
This is not a question and answer session.
Understood.
Yeah.
Well, if my memory serves me correctly, that's what happened at that stage in the game, and that shows a willful ignorance to not get it right at that time in the timeline. Willfully ignorant, to not do the work. All the work that has been done in this town for homelessness, and I thank the mayor for the task force organization that she came up with and was applying, and everything was going good. And I just think that was an incorrect time to vote for it in that stage of the game. So, and I think, well, I'll come up with my public comment and I'll address some other stuff because I only have 15 seconds, but I do think we should have 5 minutes of respect for residents, people who come to speak. I think 5 minutes of respect is a little bit more appropriate than 3 minutes.
Thank you for your comment. Other comments?
Good evening, everyone. President of the Council, Mayor Fagan, thank you for this opportunity. My name's Ellen Boylan. I reside at 137 Tulip Street. And I believe that there are many problems with this ordinance, and I urge you to not pass it. I sent a letter yesterday that was signed by myself, fellow Summit resident and formerly unhoused neighbor Leonard Prentice, Pastor Dennison Harriott, and Reverend Robin Tanner. And this letter expressed our concerns, and I'm just going to hit on 2 of them right now. I ask that the council consider all of the issues that were raised in our letter, and I ask that you please answer 2 questions that I'd like to ask tonight before you vote on whether or not to adopt this ordinance. The ordinance states that it aims to, and I quote, incentivize and encourage people who are unsheltered to accept help while penalizing those who, I quote, are unwilling to accept placement in a shelter or to work with a social service provider. The underlying assumption in the ordinance that people will move from homelessness into housing when threatened with punishment discriminates, in our opinion, against people with disabilities by assuming a level of rational thought that may not be possible for a person with cognitive impairment, mental illness, past trauma, substance use disorder, or any combination of these conditions. Social services professionals who work with this vulnerable population understand these conditions and know that it takes time, repeated contact, and resources to build the relationships and trust needed to help an unsheltered homeless person move into housing. So my question is tonight, number one, is the intent of this ordinance that the police enforce it across the board to every unhoused individual in Summit? We all know people in the community, our neighbors who are unhoused, who have impairments, cognitive impairments, psychiatric impairments. Will these people be arrested if they refuse to go to a shelter in Plainfield or Elizabeth or out of county? Is that the intention? Will people be arrested if they are working locally with Bridges or Bridgeway to find housing? So I'd really appreciate an answer to that. My second question is, given the fact that Summit has always had an unsheltered population, why isn't Summit working with a nonprofit to create a center for homeless individuals that provide shelter, needed social services, health services, help applying for benefits, help with job skills, that sort of thing? Why is it that the ordinance authorizes shipping people who are in Summit out to other communities in Union County or even out of Union County? When people have roots here, I've heard Councilman Boyer say Summit's always had homeless people. This is true. Since I've lived here for 30 years, there have always been homeless people here. Why aren't we doing something as a more permanent solution to the problem, instead of setting up a system where people are going to be sent out of the county or out of Summit? And I'd like an answer to that question too, please. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments.
Good evening. My name is Amanda Block. I reside with my family at 13 DeBarry Place, and it is my honor to serve on the Mayor's Task Force on Homelessness. In fact, for 10 years, I've gone hat in hand to City Hall to seek municipal involvement and support for Summit's unhoused community. First on behalf of Bridges, then on behalf of Warm Hearts, and now for Grace. I join you tonight to first thank you for creating a dynamic, collaborative model that has given relief to many. In fact, one of the gentlemen who spoke at the last, I don't know if we want to call it hearing, last time when this ordinance was introduced, he gained permanent housing today. That this is proof that the model lays the foundation for even more impact. Your model has proven that the only solution to homelessness is housing. This is thanks to the resources that enable it. Reliably present mental health and social services available, offering suitable for the people in need, and the funding to cover the transition and the housing. This ordinance takes on a great deal of municipal responsibility. The provision for available indoor housing assumes a correct record of Union County available shelter beds on off hours. It assumes that law enforcement can find the placements. It assumes that those placements will work out for the people. It assumes that what is available is an appropriate accommodation for people who are elderly, who have disabilities, who have a history of trauma or mental illness. Punishments often have an opposite effect for the most vulnerable, increasing resistance and adding obstacles on the path to housing and stability. In order to end homelessness in Summit is to create a sustainable model in the face of a housing crisis, to dedicate resources on nights and weekends when emergency calls most happen, and when people are more willing to engage, to invest in social work, mental health outreach, and to uphold our own coordinated entry while the county develops their own model. The success of this ordinance as it is written relies on a broken system with dwindling resources in the face of demand. It does hold Summit accountable for its space and its people who seek refuge in public. An ordinance can prevent belongings from being abandoned in public space, but it cannot stop at-risk individuals from languishing. Coordinated, dynamic care can. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hi, Ellen de Havilland, 197 Ashland Road. Dear city leadership, I come today to share a perspective. You might know me from my work around the community, but today I want to share a story from my work as a certified music therapist and local private practice owner. I've worked in schools, hospitals, clinical settings, and within community and government institutions for almost 20 years. The individual stories are unique, but very often the same in ways. The trauma and life experiences are often rooted deep within institutional practices. Please note, this is a story of trauma I am about to share. I invite you to listen while giving yourself space. But know this is real life, and not everyone has the same resources in life. Some details are changed to protect the stories of the people I work with. Imagine a young mother who was kicked out of her home because she got pregnant. Her own mother believes her baby daddy is her current boyfriend. Mom doesn't like her boyfriend, but this young mother has a deep connection with him because he makes her feel safe. And home does not. She still loves her mother and respects her. She does not know her birth father. She knows this baby is from a man who raped her in her own home. Her mom does not know this. She is now living on the street. She now holds a baby in her arms. She is alone. She is scared. She finds a shelter and is taken in by concerned citizens. The shelter becomes a place she feels unsafe. She leaves. She is cold. She is now dependent on drugs. They numb the pain. She tries to end her life again. She is in and out of institutions. Her baby is now 5, and she is stabilized and has a home. But she has a record and fines and struggles to secure a job. She can't clear the background checks, and she is dependent on the broken system. Please consider she is a human. We need to be kind. We need to give our neighbors a chance. Relapse is a real possibility. But imagine if she had everything she needs, and imagine if the system was there to help her when she dips down. Imagine the next generation that looks up to her. I've worked with women who each share their story in pieces because it's not easy and they just want out. And they want a future for their children. Every mother I've worked with, every mother, pushes through for their children. Can we be there for them? Or will we continue to be part of a broken system? I want to thank the women who have allowed me into this space, especially those who are no longer here to share their stories. This ordinance does not take a humanistic approach. Trauma-informed intervention is the key to ending homelessness. We need a connected system that works together to make systemic change.
Thank you for your comments.
My name is Joseph Brown, 27 Glenstead Ave, apartment E2. Madam Mayor, City Council President, I see you guys again. And all the council. Over the past couple days or months, me, the mayor, and City Council President, we've been email, to talking to each other, to figure out ways to deal with these homeless people on the street. They're not called we don't call them homeless people. We call them people because they are human beings just like we are. There's this ordinance going on right now. In the police, what they're doing is just to help them get off the street. We're looking at ways to get them housing. We want our children to walk down the street. We don't want people at their bus stop sleeping, going around town sleeping. We don't want our children to see our sleeping bags. That's what this ordinance is about. We're working with the police departments, day in, day out, email each other. The months are going. After you guys pass this ordinance, we're gonna keep working with each other to figure out ways to help these people. We only have three homeless people on the street right now. From last year to now, we only 3. With the community's help, we could get this done. This ordinance has to go through so we can work together to get things done. We don't want people to sleep on the street no more. So I hope you guys pass this ordinance so we can move forward with our lives and work together as a community, as one, instead of being divided. It's not be divided anymore. Let's be one again. We live in the same town. Let's come together and help these people. Mental health is a big issue in the world. They're dealing with one thing. They're afraid to live on the street. There's one person, individual, that's dealing with the biggest issue right now. His name is Roy. But let's work together, talk to these people, see what they're going through. Maybe one day we can help them out. Maybe one day we can all sit together with the community, could find me, we could talk to ways, come together, talk to me, if we see what we can do to help these people. I'm always here to talk to you guys. Always here to talk to the council, and I'm always here to talk to the public. Thank you.
Thank you for your
I'm
comments.
sorry, what's your name again, sir?
Joseph.
Yes.
Thank you, Joseph.
Jacqueline Laceracina. I'm a resident of Summit. I remain opposed to the anti-camping ordinance in due part because research tells us it is unlikely to be effective and may actually be counterproductive. But if this is the law we are to have, we have to come together as a community to make it work, and that means staffing it properly. I again urge council to delay effectiveness of the ordinance until Summit hires dedicated social workers to support our police in implementing the new law. One of the ways we show respect for our police officers is by building out a proper support system. This allows our officers to focus their energies in the most impactful ways, preventing and addressing home invasions, violent crimes, car thefts, vandalism, and so on. The council is charged with running a complex organization in the city. To borrow from Jim Collins' Good to Great, you need the right people in the right seats on the bus. And right now, we have an empty row on the bus. Following emails with council members Hamlet and Pulowski, I am even more convinced that Summit needs dedicated social workers. Right now, public social workers sit at the county level and are divided among Plainfield and Union and Elizabeth and Linden and Summit and so on. The most basic responsibility of government is to protect the physical safety of its citizens. Let's be very clear. It does the community no good to just appear tough on these issues. We have to be smarter. Research tells us the presence of a social worker will make interactions with the police more effective. In the most recent budget, you have chosen to hire a dedicated facilities manager. but we're not getting a dedicated social worker. As one of you said at a recent meeting, budgets reflect values. I believe this. The choice of a facilities manager over a social worker may reflect the values of some at the dais, but I do not believe this choice reflects the values of Summit. And I urge you to please include express protections for women and victims of domestic violence and human trafficking. It is a glaring omission that should be addressed. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Good evening, Dan McGuire, CEO of the Elizabeth Coalition to House the Homeless, with several units here in Summit for homeless families. I arrived late today and got a space in the parking lot, so I thought I maybe got the wrong night for the meeting, but I did come in as the councilman was speaking, and got me thinking about my remarks a little bit. Other than on behalf of the Elizabeth Coalition, I appreciate the hard work that the entire council's spent on this issue. We respectfully hope you will vote no on the ordinance, but as Ellen and Amanda were speaking about permanent solutions and the councilman's conversation about COA and affordable housing was in my head, I might hope that the council, regardless of the yes or no vote tonight on the ordinance, might consider how to weave into its affordable housing plan something specific for homeless households, whether that is putting the squeeze on the for-profit developers who are doing inclusionary projects, who are always going to want to go for the highest possible rent levels, 80% moderate income, which is prohibitive to most of the homeless households, or doing what maybe I was late to hear, but didn't hear, 100% affordable projects, which can be specific to special needs populations like the homeless or domestic violence, of which many domestic violence survivors are homeless. That's a way to meet your need at scale and density and merge and marry the issues here in town while meeting your affordable housing needs. So something to consider, and the Elizabeth Coalition would be happy to help talk through that with you at any time, just for advice. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments. Other comments from the public?
Sorry, I feel like I'm keeping everyone waiting here. Good evening, everyone. My name is Raisa Rubin-Stankwitz, and I'm going to present at least part of this letter on behalf of the New Jersey Coalition to End Homelessness.
You just give your address, please.
Oh, sure. 360 Jefferson Road, Princeton, New Jersey. So I will skip over a little bit of it. New Jersey Coalition to End Homelessness has consistently and successfully opposed, both in and out of court, any efforts to criminalize homelessness anywhere in New Jersey, and we will continue to do so. Indeed, the council cited testimony by the coalition and fellow advocates when the council decided at the last council, actually I don't even know if it's the last at this point, but at a previous council meeting, to withdraw the initial versions of a proposed anti-camping ordinance entitled such. As the coalition's legal counsel has pointed out, the original versions of the proposed camping ordinance were illegal, since they could have been used to criminalize homelessness in violation of New Jersey law, that including but not limited to the rights to safety and survival guaranteed in Article 1, Section 1 of New Jersey's Constitution. We have also consistently said that there is no need for any municipal ordinance to stop camping on public land. The answer to homelessness is housing, not anything else. We applied Summit and the Mayor's Task Force on Homelessness for successfully securing emergency shelter or other indoor housing for the previously unsheltered people in Summit. Incredible. You've done incredible work. And indeed, as of this writing, we are pleased to report that that almost every previously unsheltered person in Summit has secured indoor housing. We are unaware of unsheltered people who do not want housing. There is also no problem to our knowledge of people camping on Summit's public property for fun as opposed to necessity. Thus, we hope that Summit, like other municipalities, will make the right choice and choose not to pass any anti-camping ordinance at all. And we have signed on to efforts to enact a statewide law that will prohibit criminalization of homelessness by any New Jersey municipality. That being said, from a legal perspective, we recognize that Summit is entitled to enact a reasonable ordinance to prevent recreational camping and provide for public use of public land. And we are fighting not for tents on public properties, but for housing, as well as the right of every person to survive until safe and adequate indoor housing becomes available. So we therefore thank the council for working with the coalition to revise the proposed ordinance to avoid and indeed to expressly prohibit any use of the proposed ordinance against any people who need or want indoor housing. I'm going to wrap up my comments here. I know Jeff Wild will probably be speaking after me and can speak to more, but I just wanted to start that off, and thank you for listening.
Thank you for your comments.
Good evening, all. Jeffrey Wild, 1 Lowenstein Drive, Roseland, New Jersey. What Raisa said and what I'm going to say was also the subject of written remarks, which we have emailed, but if Ms. Baldwin doesn't have them, I'll make sure to email them. Let me just highlight some of the critical changes that have been made in the ordinance as a result of this council hearing the public. The ordinance now recognizes the legal rights of unhoused people. It states that one of its purposes is to protect any rights of individuals under applicable law, including but not limited to Article 1, Sections 1 and 12 of the New Jersey Constitution. That's the law, which in essence says you can't criminalize homelessness. People who have nowhere else to go have a right to survive, a right to safety, and sadly, until we have adequate emergency shelter and housing, some people are going to need to do that. There is now a definition of needed available indoor housing, which prohibits any use of the ordinance against any person who is seeking housing but does not yet have it, and that housing must, in virtually all situations, be an emergency shelter bed or other habitable indoor housing that is actually available at the time with any needed transportation provided in Summit or Union County. A person cannot just be sent to another county unless they've chosen that county, applied for emergency assistance, and have a place waiting for them. The ordinance expressly now criminalizes or prohibits the criminalization of homelessness. It couldn't be clearer. No person shall be arrested, prosecuted, or convicted under the ordinance if that person has no available housing at the time. Moreover, it states that a person shall not be deemed to be violating the ordinance if they're actively working with the city or any nonprofit organization to seek available indoor housing. There's also a provision on notice to the advocate. So if Summit ever feels it needs to enforce an ordinance like this, and we at the coalition agree with our fellow advocates, there's no problem of house people who want to camp on public land. So our preference likewise would be not to have any ordinance. However, the revised ordinance requires that notice be given to the mayor's task force on homelessness and also to the coalition so that anyone who hypothetically is violating this ordinance can have legal representation in addition to the public defender and the protections of the court. Given I only have a few seconds, I'd be happy to answer some of the questions that were posed. I understand it's not question and answer, but if the council will indulge me, will unhoused people be arrested if they're working with a local nonprofit was one question. Since I'm an attorney, may I continue for another minute or two, or am I done?
Yeah, I'm going to have to cut you off because I'd have to do it
Fair
for
enough.
everybody. Thank you.
Good evening, Reverend Dr. Robin Tanner, lead ministry team at Beacon Unitarian Universalist Congregation, and I live in West Orange. First, I want to thank the Mayor's Task Force on Homelessness for your continuing work to reduce housing insecurity. It's a little hard to see you with my reading glasses, but I do appreciate it. I know that helping to get people housing and stabilization is a difficult task requiring a lot of will, a whole lot of time, and multiple strategies often coming from various agencies. Which is why, despite the best efforts of everyone involved, I still have concerns about this proposed ordinance. Because we do not have coordinated entry in Union County yet, and I am saying yet because I remain very hopeful and committed to seeing that happen, I want to ask you why you have kept the exception as it is written. A person shall not be deemed to be engaged in camping in violation of this ordinance if they are actively working with the city or any nonprofit organization to seek available indoor housing. Notwithstanding, this exception shall not apply if at least temporary available indoor housing is immediately available. Having personally called 211 with individuals seeking housing, I know that determining housing, if housing is immediately available, is not an easy task, and it often requires access to databases typically available only to licensed social workers. I'm concerned about how officers will be able to determine if housing is available, particularly outside of normal business hours when you're not able to reach many of these agencies and social workers. Furthermore, the ordinance is an unfunded mandate. We know from our experience in securing the housing we did in the last year that this takes resources, including social workers, housing funds, and support staff. This ordinance does not lay out or is not companioned by any plan for how to do that. In addition, the enforcement of this, including administrative costs, will be borne exclusively by the city. Why not seek collaborative solutions with multiple partners, especially for those impacted by this ordinance with disabilities? Finally, at the end of this long process, this ordinance is still a proposal to utilize a hammer in a situation that is decidedly not a nail. Let's continue our adaptive solutions that made us a shining example across the country and ensure that housing is not partisan or politicized, but rather one more thing that Summit has met with innovative solutions and exceptional commitment.
Thank you very much.
Good evening. My name is Thaisa Kelly, CEO of Monarch Housing Associates. We're a nonprofit organization based in Cranford, New Jersey that works to end homelessness across the state of New Jersey. I'm here tonight to once again urge you to vote no on this ordinance or to table it. Since this ordinance was first introduced, a tremendous amount of work has gone into updating it, to revising the ordinance, and I applaud you guys for all of the work and I'm sure there's lots of comments that you sifted through, lots of conversations that you had to try to figure out how to make the ordinance better, how to lessen the impact and lessen the negative impacts that this ordinance might have. But at the end of the day, at its core, this ordinance says that individuals are not allowed to camp or store belongings or sleep in public places unless they have a quote-unquote hall pass, unless there is no bed available or there's an agency that can vouch for them that says they're in process. That makes it a really difficult thing it raises a lot of questions and makes it really difficult to see how this is not going to potentially penalize folks in the future, as there are so many different situations and instances where people are experiencing homelessness that may not fit into what has been laid out within this ordinance and leaves a lot of questions about how it will be implemented in the future. I know that your first responders, the police, the EMS, the community providers that are part of the Homeless Task Force, all of your agencies are working really, really hard to get people connected to services and get them connected to housing. It is hard work to do that, and it takes time. But the thing that those our partners need to actually do this work effectively is time. So if the goal of this ordinance is to really help people get engaged with housing and services, you've already created a process for doing that through the task force. You already have a mechanism to do that. Now, if the other part of this ordinance is about addressing some of the challenges that have come up with some of the handful of folks who have violated existing laws, there are other ways to address those issues as well. There's not a need for this ordinance because this ordinance is not going to really get to the root issue of actually getting people into housing or services. The way that you actually do that is through the work that you're doing with your task force, is through the partnerships with the community providers, is through partnerships with hospitals, is through partnerships with the county providers. And there's still more work that can be done to strengthen those partnerships that I think this ordinance is premature because not all of that work has happened, and there are more opportunities, more avenues to explore in order to actually get to success for the last remaining folks who are experiencing unsheltered homelessness. I urge you to really kind of think about what impact this ordinance will have, not only on people who are experiencing homelessness today, but those who will be experiencing homelessness in your community in 10 years, in 15 years, in 20 years. Their needs are going to look different, and the folks who are going to be charged with actually implementing and enforcing this ordinance will not have the benefit of this robust conversation that has happened in the community over the last years, and will not necessarily have the same context in terms of how to implement this ordinance in the ways that you guys are envisioning right now. So I urge you to vote no.
Thank you for your comments. Other public comments? Okay, I'm going to close the public hearing portion of this, for this ordinance, and I'm going to open it up to council comments on the ordinance. Council members?
I can go first.
Yeah, Councilman Boyer.
President. First, let me just say, I appreciate everyone that spoke. I know you all care about this issue. Mr. Anonymous, what you said was fair. You know, it was fair. You know, the intent of this ordinance was not aimed at the unhoused. The original ordinance didn't say anything about homelessness. It was about not allowing people to take over public property, and some of those individuals had places to stay, right? So there's a balance here, right? I know we've been saying consistently over and over again, I've been hearing about the unhoused, but we also got to remember the public, right? There's people that live in this town that enjoy walking, you know, and waiting for the bus and doing things in this town. They like going to the Village Green, like this weekend. There was a pet show, right? Like that happens every year. There's movie nights every year. The kids love it. They enjoy it. Without this ordinance, someone could pitch a tent, and the police, who's our professional, said, hey, I can't really do anything about it. I hear a lot of people come up, some of which run for office. They say, why don't you listen to the professionals? You should listen to the professionals. It strikes me, though, when the police chief comes up, who is a professional, we don't listen. This ordinance was about not allowing someone to come to Summit and pitch a tent and stay wherever they want on public property. The next thing is to the certified music instructor. I didn't get your name, I'm so sorry. I appreciate your story, and you know that is unfortunate. I'm glad that person has a place to stay. And listen, our police department are human beings. They have children, some of which are married. They're members of this community. We have to think rationally. Right? A woman is homeless. She's got her baby. Right? The police are not going to arrest her. I mean, we gotta be practical. We gotta think of things like, we gotta be practical with this, right? Jacqueline, I think you said you're opposed to the ordinance. Yeah, the basic responsibility of government is the safety of its residents. Absolutely, 100%. And the way that this whole process started was the 20, 30 phone calls and conversations that I've had with residents all over town about instances and issues that they were having. And yeah, initially, I voted against moving forward and revising it and everything, because my view was that the original ordinance, the police do this already. If there's a mental illness issue, they take the person to the hospital. They don't arrest them. They take them to the hospital. Now, that's fine if we want to codify it, and that's what we've done here. So I'm in agreement with that. But this is what governance looks like, right? There's trade-offs, there's conversations, there's things of that nature, and that's how we got here. Joseph, I'm glad that you had conversations with the mayor and council president. I'm glad that you're in support of the ordinance. Last thing, around this time in 2023, I came in to the council with several people that at the time were living in the bus stop. That council that was up here at the time, none of them went to the bus stop to talk to anybody or anyone. And we may say that they had a homelessness plan, but this council right now had a homelessness plan, right? All of those people, maybe except for one, who I don't even think is unhoused, have been housed. One of which is here tonight. I see you all the time on the weekends. I know these folks personally. So, and I'm also happy to read in Mr. Wild's letter or email that he sent that, and I don't know if it's true, I'm gonna look at it, but almost everyone that was previously unhoused in this town have housing. That is amazing. That is absolutely amazing. That is something that we should be cheering and celebrating. Absolutely 100%. 110%. And I just want to give a shout out to the mayor's task force of homelessness, our police department, and when we talk about resources, that it's going to cause extra resources. I mean, the police have been to certain areas, you know, I don't know, 1,000 times in 1 year. I mean, they're already doing the work, right? This is not new. So thank you to the Summit Police Department. And last but not least, I want to thank the council members, the mayor and council president, because this is a tough thing, right? It's tough to sit up here and, you know, go against what everyone wants to hear, which is, you know, leave folks alone, don't do anything, don't pass this, and, you know. But Summit, I know a lot of people are out of town. You got to understand Summit. You got to understand the community, right? It's easier to understand when you live here. You can't paint a broad brush and say, hey, camping ordinances are bad, you know. But have you been in Summit except for like a couple hours or maybe your trip here? I mean, I have. I live here. I know the community. And I think there are things in this ordinance that I would have liked to change. You know, I think giving somebody 24 hours to remove their materials is way too long. I don't like the term homelessness in it. You know, but those are concessions that we make. So, but thank you, Council President.
Thank you, Councilman Boyer. Other comments from council? Councilman Pulowski.
Thank you. So it's no secret that I would have preferred a slimmer version of this. Jeff knows that, Mr. Wild, pretty well after our conversations. And I do believe that for all intents and purposes, this ordinance will function as the earlier ones would have. The police would have put in their procedures. That's their job. The judiciary has its own discretion and sentencing guidelines. But I am happy that we were able to get a much broader consensus for this version that we're going to vote on here tonight than we were for the others, and I'm happy to support it. Thanks.
Thank you. Other comments from council? Councilwoman Toth?
Yeah, thank you, Council President. And I want to thank everyone who's made a public comment, who has submitted a letter or an email, or provided witness by attending a council meeting on this ordinance. I wish there were no ordinance for hearing and vote this evening. However, this council is going to pass an anti-camping ordinance. So the question isn't whether there's going to be an ordinance, it's what ordinance is going to be passed. And following that council meeting on April 22nd and 23rd, Mr. Wild of the New Jersey Coalition to End Homelessness worked with Council President McTurnan, Council Member Pulowski, and me to rewrite the originally proposed ordinance. And we particularly wrestled with the definition of available indoor housing that many of you have pointed to. It's really the linchpin of the ordinance. And it took some doing, but we produced something that both Councilmember Pulowski and I could live with, however reluctantly. And I think that alone is an achievement. This ordinance isn't perfect, far from it. There's still much work to do. The police department will write procedures so its officers can implement this with compassion and consistency. We're going to work with Overlook Hospital to ensure that its discharge process connects the unhoused with appropriate social services. Still, I accept the reality that there's going to be an ordinance. I much prefer this version to the one that was originally proposed, so I am going to have to hold my nose and vote to support it. Thank you.
Thank you. Other comments? Councilman Smallwood.
Thank you, Council President. This is the first comments that I've made on this ordinance. So my comments have changed over the past 2 months. As a councilman and someone guided by both faith and civic responsibility, I believe we are called to lead with both compassion and accountability. Scripture teaches us to care for those in need. In Isaiah 58, we're reminded to feed the hungry and shelter the wanderer. In the Gospel of Matthew, Jesus tells us that whatever we do for one of the least of these, we do for him. That spirit is what guides Summit's Housing First approach. Meeting people where they are, no strings attached, and offering real pathways to shelter and support. But the Bible also speaks to personal responsibility. In 2 Thessalonians, Paul writes, "The one who is unwilling to work shall not eat." That doesn't mean we give up on people. It means that help must come with structure, encouragement, and a path forward. When outreach is offered and refused repeatedly, and behavior puts others at risk, then yes, we must draw lines to protect the greater good. This ordinance is not about criminalizing homelessness. It is about keeping our shared public spaces safe, clean, and accessible for everyone. Residents, families, seniors, and our children. We can be a community that offers help without enabling them. That's real compassion. In the past year, the Mayor's Homeless Task Force helped more than 20 residents or individuals transition into housing. That's meaningful progress. And this ordinance builds on that momentum. Not only does it avoid punishing those who are involuntarily homeless, it actually codifies a housing first response. Under this ordinance, if someone appears to be unhoused, the police must first contact the Mayor's Task Force or the New Jersey Coalition to End Homelessness. This first option is not a citation or a court appearance. It's a referral to social workers, mental health professionals, and outreach services. This ordinance focuses on behavior, not identity. And it includes clear guardrails to prevent the criminalization of homelessness. This is about balance between protecting individuals' dignity and preserving our shared community standards. Let me say this clearly. Allowing people to call a park bench or a vestibule their home is not compassion. That is neglect. True compassion helps people find dignity through shelter and support, not by leaving them exposed on concrete with no way forward. We're fortunate to live in a community that truly cares. That's why we continue to partner with nonprofits, faith-based organizations, and social service agencies. This ordinance doesn't weaken the commitment, it strengthens it. Let's also acknowledge that what's happening across our country. I look at this ordinance in a different way. To prevent the kind of encampments we've seen elsewhere, encampments that have become platforms for anti-Semitism, harassment, and hate speech. These encampments do not represent peaceful protests. They create fear and disorder. And Summit has a responsibility to prevent that from taking root here. This isn't about politics. It's about protecting people. It's about making sure Summit remains a safe, welcoming, and livable city for everyone. Thank you, Councilor.
Thank you, Councilman Smallwood. Other comments? Councilwoman Hamlet.
Thank you. Excuse me, thank you. I have absolutely nothing prepared tonight because I think it's important to hear what all of you have to say and sort of take that in, at least for me at this point, because I've spoken on it so much. I just want to thank everybody for your comments. I think this is, as much as everybody's probably equally as unhappy at this point, because it isn't exactly what everybody wants. I'm proud of everybody for working together. You know, I met with a resident today who's here, and she had some really good points. And to Mr. Boyer's point, there are some things that we could probably do to still make this better. But we don't have, you know, every minute of the day to make this better, so we're gonna try to pass this one, and I will take all of your conversations. I'll take them very seriously. But I would say for those of you who are really unhappy, know that we did a good thing here. Everybody here cares about ending homelessness. We are working day and night with the county, with Health and Human Services. We have a really important call on Friday about the gentleman who really needs help, who we certainly could not send to a shelter. We would never send him to a shelter. He wouldn't survive in a shelter. We're working day and night with the Homeless Task Force to get him the help that he needs, which right now is not primarily housing, but it's mental health. And I would agree with the coordinated entry comment tonight. It's really important that we get that process stronger. But I'm really proud of everybody for working together. I'm really proud of all of us for disagreeing for 3 months on how to get this right. This is what good governance is. It's what good community involvement is. And let's keep having tough conversations. Just because we disagree doesn't mean we can't get to where we all want to be, which is ending homelessness together.
Thank you. Other comments from council? Yeah, Councilman Boyer.
Really quick, just to piggyback on Councilwoman Hamlet. If we're not perfect, right? If in the practical world, right? If there's something that's not working out, right? We'll revise it. We've done these things before, right? We did it with the resident protection ordinance. We're always looking to get better. So I just want to point that out.
Thank you. Other comments? Mayor, would you like to make a comment? You've been mentioned a bunch of times. In a good way.
I was biting my tongue. No, I actually would like to just thank everyone on the task force again. I can't thank our providers enough for what I term a miracle. I mean, I sat next to Rich from Bridges, and I probably, I don't know, 6 months ago, probably November, because we started the rapid rehousing, the sprint. And I teared up because I was like, oh my God, is this really going to happen? And he looked at me and he said, it's going to happen. And so really proud of that effort. And it speaks to the kind of community we live in. It really does. So I'm grateful for everybody here. I'm grateful for all the comments. I do think that this ordinance, again, I think it's another layer. It's another opportunity for engagement. maybe it's not perfect, but it's an option, and it's not going to be the first option. It's never going to be the first option. The first option is looking at the humans that we're trying to help. That's all.
Thank you. Other comments? All right, I'll just wrap up. I almost never write anything down. I jotted a few notes down, but I'll just not say them anyways. I want to echo what other people from the diocese said. Thank you for coming and giving really good, well thought out comments from the heart. Like I said it when you guys came in this, to start the meeting. This matters. You know, this is what community and human beings should be doing. We all have the same goal here. We may disagree around the process and how to achieve that, but we want to help these people. They should have dignity. They should be in a home. And that's what I think this process has been about. This is not some dramatic 180-degree turn on what we've been doing in Summit. The homeless task force is not going to go away. I think Ms. Tanner talked about this collaborative process that we need. That's going to stay. It's not going anywhere. We want to help these few last individuals. And as people have alluded to, we've made tremendous progress. Councilwoman Hamlet, I give her so much credit. When this whole thing started, we had dozens of homeless people living around the train station. And council talked a lot about it. And I was watching a meeting, I wasn't on council, and she gets up and starts talking about how she met like 4 of them. She brought one into the chamber. That's rolling up your sleeves and doing something. That was amazing. And that spirit continued with all these other people in the community who banded together to join the task force. And it's not easy. You can't sit up here and just give platitudes and this stuff is going to go away. You have to do the work. You have to talk to people, as Joseph said. And these people have really done the work. And many of you I know are sitting in the room here today. So I applaud you for doing all that work. It's amazing because the results are incredible. But I look at this really as an incremental thing because you guys have done so much. And we have a few individuals who are not responsive to this methodology. And we can decide that let's just keep doing the same thing, and maybe a month from now, maybe a year from now, but maybe never will these people accept the help that's being offered them. There is homes available for these people. Rich, we've had this conversation. If they so choose to say yes. And I get it, there are a lot of mental health issues that are involved. There are substance abuse issues that are involved that keep people from thinking clearly and making proper choices. But I think what this ordinance to me is, it's about telling a person, you're making a wrong choice. Your choice to live this way, we're not, by doing nothing about it, and just continuing to talk about the same stuff almost validates what they're doing. And I don't want to validate it. It's not compassionate to see people live this way for a day or tomorrow. And I don't want to do nothing new and watch these people continue to live this way for however long. I don't know how many people this is going to help. But when we look at this, it says it's not okay for you to make an unhealthy choice to live this way. I don't condone it. Neither should you. Maybe you should think a little bit differently. I don't know if they will. Many probably won't. But it's sending a signal that our community thinks and is telling them, you people can do better. We can help you. There is a choice. Your choice is not the correct one. And please accept the help that we have. And that's what this ordinance is about for me. And again, if it helps one person make a better choice, it's well worth it. It's well worth the, I don't know, hundreds of hours that we've been engaging around this topic and all the help that we've gotten from people in the community. We talked to DCA Mr. Wild, all these people who have helped. This has been a long, drawn-out process, and it's been iterative. And I really do applaud, as I said, the public for engaging, this council for listening. And not just listening, but to take critical feedback. It's hard to take critical feedback, to be told you're wrong. This doesn't work. You need to change this, and say, maybe you have a point, and to go back and do it. And to me, that's good governance. Again, is it perfect? No. Does that mean we can't change it some other time in the future? Of course we can. And again, and our homelessness task force is not going away, nor will good ideas, other ideas about trying to help these people. As Joseph alluded to, we had a great call the other day with Rich and other people on the homelessness task force around maybe doing something different, getting more people involved. And that's going to continue too. So this is one thing of a multi-thing, and I really do trust our police, our first responders. They have been dealing with these people constantly. They understand their needs, who they are, and they're human beings too. And they treat these people like human beings, which they deserve to be. So those are my comments. All right, I'm going to declare the hearing closed on this ordinance, and now we're going to go for ordinances for final consideration. Madam Clerk, will you please read the Community Programs and Parking Services Ordinance?
Ordinance number 25-3341, an ordinance to amend the code, Appendix A, Schedule of Fees, contained in the revised general ordinances of the City of Summit. Fees to be collected by the Parking Services Agency.
Thank you so much. Councilman Smallwood.
Thank you, Council President. This is ordinance number 253341 to increase daily visitor pass fee and remove bulk discount. I would like to open up this for final consideration.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All right, roll call, please.
Mr. Boyer?
Aye.
Ms. Hamlet?
Aye.
Ms. Kalmanson?
Aye.
Mr. Pulaski?
Aye.
Mr. Smallwood?
Aye.
Ms. Toth?
Aye.
President McTiernan?
Aye. Motion carries. All right, our second ordinance for final consideration. Madam Clerk, will you please read the Safety and Health Ordinance, please?
Ordinance number 25-3342, an ordinance amending Chapter 3 Police Regulations of the Code of the City of Summit to add a new Section 3-19 entitled Camping on Public Property.
Thank you so much. Councilman Boyer.
Thank you, Council President. As our esteemed clerk just said, this is ordinance 25-3342. And having closed the hearing just a moment ago, I move this ordinance for a final adoption.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Boyer?
Aye.
Ms. Hamlet?
Aye.
Ms. Kalmanson?
Aye.
Mr. Pulaski?
Aye.
Mr. Smallwood?
Aye.
Ms. Toth?
Aye.
Council President McTiernan?
Aye. Motion carries. All right, moving right along. We have an ordinance for introduction this evening. Madam Clerk, will you please read the finance ordinance?
Ordinance number ID 11952, an ordinance to establish the 2025 salaries, wages, or compensations of and for the officers and employees of the City of Summit in the County of Union, New Jersey.
Thank you so much. Councilwoman Toth.
Thank you, Council President. Following last month's budget passage, this annual ordinance sets the salaries for city employees. I move to introduce this ordinance.
Thank you so much. Roll call, please.
I second.
Do you need a
Oh, in a
second?
second,
I
sorry.
second.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Boyer?
Aye.
Ms. Hamlet?
Aye.
Ms. Kalmanson?
Aye.
Mr. Pulaski?
Aye.
Mr. Smallwood?
Aye.
Ms. Toth?
Aye.
President McTiernan?
Aye. Motion carries. All right. On to our resolution section of our
Council
meeting.
President, just announce the date of the hearing.
Oh,
which
yes,
is
I'm
a
sorry. The
Monday.
hearing date on that ordinance we just introduced is June 16th, 2025.
And it's a Monday.
Which is a Monday. Thank you. I would have forgotten to say that. Okay. So we got resolutions. The first group of resolutions is capital projects and community services. Councilwoman Hamlet, number 1.
Yes, just give me 1 second, Council President. Sorry, my notes here somewhere. Okay. This is Resolution ID 11836, approval to submit an award extension request for LA 23 Bike Park Line Project Phase 2 to the New Jersey Department of Transportation. Be it resolved by the Common Council of the City of Summit, County of Union, Jersey,
that it does hereby formally approve the request for an additional 6-month award extension for the project known as LA 2023 Bike City of Summit Parkline Project Phase 2. And be it further resolved that the mayor and city clerk or those authorized on their behalf shall submit a formal request for an extra 6-month award to the New Jersey Department of Transportation. Just for everybody's, to explain it a little bit better, we received a Bikeways grant from NJDOT in the amount of $500,000. In the memo, I believe it says Phase 3, but it's actually Phase 2 of the Parkline project. NJDOT required the project to be awarded by December 11th, 2024, and then granted a six-month extension, resulting in a new deadline of June 11th, 2025. The plans are still at NJDOT under review, and they recommend we request an additional extension since the current project timeline may be close to the deadline. I would like to move this resolution.
Second.
All right, at this time, I'd like to call for comments from the public on this resolution. Comments from council?
Council President.
Yes, please, Councilman Boyer.
So we do have a committee for the park line, and it is 2 members from 2 residents and the park line steering committee members. I think it's 3 of them, and Director Schrager, the mayor, and council president. We do meeting, once a month to go over this, and like Councilwoman Hamlet said, the delay, and correct me if I'm wrong, Director Schrager, is the county, right? The county DOT, that's the delay in this kind of process, right? Because we've been going through motions for a while now, and I've gotten some calls from the public. If you just want to make a quick comment about that, just to...
Certainly, through you, Council President, and just to provide an update, because the memo in this packet was a few weeks old, so since then, it's NJDOT who is providing a funding opportunity here for $500,000. So the plans and specifications must go through their office for review. That final approval was received within a week or 2, so we will be out to bid next week with the intent to receive bids on July 8th and award, I believe it's the 29th that we have a meeting, subject to a successful bid and funding. So that just puts us 6 weeks behind the original deadline. DOT knows this is coming, and they said that's fine because they did review it for quite a while. So they were part of the holdup at the end there, yes.
That is great news, and I take back what I said about the county. It wasn't bad. I was just saying that the county, it was the state.
Yeah.
Thank you, Director Schrager, for that, and the residents will appreciate that update.
Thank you. Other comments from council? Yeah, I just would echo, this is an exciting project. Things take a while to get done. I'm excited that we are moving forward for this. This is going to be a great new amenity, our first park in Summit in decades. And it will be really a connector for neighborhoods. And we're getting there. It's a slow process, but we'll continue engaging with neighbors and the community. And I just want to thank Director Schrager for continuing to stay on top of this. So this is great. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, capital projects and community services, number 2, Councilwoman Hamlet.
Thank you, Council President. This is ID 11925, declaring a vacancy in the Department of Community Services, Division of Public Works, in the sewer maintenance unit for maintenance operator. Pursuant to Public Policy Section 5-1, Employment Procedures, Recruitment, a vacancy is hereby declared for the position of operator in sewer maintenance unit in the Division of Public Works, Community Services. Just to clarify, this is a lateral move. We had an equipment sewer operator who went to road, so it's a lateral transfer, thus creating the vacancy in sewer. I would like to move this resolution.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, any comments from the public on this resolution? Comments from council? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, I believe capital projects and community services number 3 has been pushed, which is going to take us to safety and health. Councilman Boyer, number 1.
Yes, thank you, Council President. Let me make sure. Yes, okay. This is ID 11947. confirming the mayor's appointment of police sergeant. And I am happy to announce that Colin Scarpello has been promoted to the rank of sergeant. Now, Colin is I'll tell you, he holds a master's degree in cybersecurity from FDU, which is Fairleigh Dickinson University, and earned his undergraduate degree from Rutgers University. Go Knights. And Colin is a standout athlete. No worries. Division I in lacrosse player at Rutgers, like one of the best lacrosse schools in the nation, by the way. He was on the 2016 national championship team. They played for the national championship. And he played on the 2017 team that was ranked #1. He continues to give back to the Summit community by volunteering as the 8th grade lacrosse coach. And he is on the PAL. In his background as a police officer, he also serves on the Union County SWAT team. And, you know, we're proud of leaders like Sergeant Scarpello in our ranks. You know, someone who goes to work, but actually outside of work makes an impact on our community. I mean, that is what we really want to see in our officers. Being a lacrosse coach and then going in at nights to go to the PAL meetings and serving hot dogs and the Dunkin' machine and everything. I mean, you know, our police officers are fantastic. So I just want to congratulate him. Thank you.
Thank you.
Second.
Other comments from council? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, Councilman Boyer, I understand you have another resolution you'd like to bring.
I do. This is Resolution 11961, a grant permission and set forth conditions for filming on Maple Street. And that date would be Monday, June 9th at 2025. Where they'll be filming is Fiorino's at 38 Maple Street.
Oh, you know what? This is a revised ordinance, Councilman Boyer. It's actually under the consent agenda number 3. So if you want to keep going, we can do that one now, or we can throw it back into the consent agenda. I apologize.
No, it's all good. So they're filming on Maple Street, which I think is really cool. This is great. I know Netflix is actually moving to New Jersey, or they're in New Jersey already. Mm-hmm. So hopefully this is one of many films that will be coming to Summit, New Jersey. We had a pretty cool diner. I could see like some Sopranos type stuff in there, you know. But yeah, thank you, Council President.
Okay.
Okay. Other comments from the public? Oh, we need a second.
Second.
Yeah, comments from the public. Comments from council? No one wants to be in the movie? Yeah. Yes, Madam Mayor.
So traffic may be tricky that day. I want to remind everybody. But don't stay away because the businesses are still open. So, and maybe you could catch a glimpse of somebody fabulous and famous. I don't know. So I just wanted to mention that.
Awesome. All right, all in favor?
Council
Oh,
President.
yes, Councilman Smallwood.
I would, thank you. I just wanted to expand on the mayor's comments. The streets that will be closed for Monday, June 9th is from Beechwood to, it's not.
Not close.
Oh, that's.
Parking.
Parking.
Traffic will still be
Okay,
flowing.
that's what I meant, parking,
It might be
sorry.
a little bit disrupted,
Yes.
but
There will be
Still
no,
open.
there will be no parking on Union Place from Beechwood to Maple Street and on Maple Street from Union Place to Springfield. So if you could plan accordingly, maybe you could think about parking at the Tier Garage, but on Monday, there'll be no parking on Union Place, Beechwood to Maple and Maple to Springfield.
there will be a section, if I may, Council
Yes,
President,
please.
that was added this afternoon for additional spaces they needed on Broad Street near the parking garage.
Great, thank you.
Just additional.
Thank you.
Good comments, thank you. All right, any other comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that carries on the consent agenda. Okay, moving right along, we're up to finance. Councilwoman Toth, finance number 1.
Well, thank you, Council President. We're going to bundle resolutions ID 11957 and 11956. And per our closed session discussion, Police Captains Medina and Garcia were each recently promoted from lieutenant. And with these promotions, they're no longer bargaining unit employees and are entitled to be paid their compensation time balances. And these bundled resolutions do just that. I move to adopt them.
Second.
Comments from the public? Comments from council? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, both of those carry. We're on to community programs and parking services. Councilman Smallwood.
Thank you, Council President. This is ID number 11958. This is to appoint a new chair of the Tatlock Neighborhood Committee. Pending closed session discussion, I'd like to congratulate Jocelyn Modesto for becoming the new chair of the Tatlock Neighborhood Committee.
Second?
Comments from the public? Comments from council? All right, congratulations, Jocelyn. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, now we have the consent agenda. So do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented, except for safety number 3, which has already been approved?
So moved.
Second.
Is there anyone from the public who wishes to comment on anything on the consent agenda? Anyone from council like to comment? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motions carry. Okay, that ends the business section of our meeting. So professionals, if you guys would like to.
Council President, I
Yes.
hope you don't, I have a couple of questions I'd like to ask Director Schrager, if that's, before he goes.
Wow, okay. Yeah. Oh, that's fine.
I mean, it's not an interrogation, it's just updates. Would you like council? I'm just kidding. So good news, the bike depot, I know the electricity got installed last week, correct? Do we have any idea when we'll be able to actually open it for public use?
Yes, through you, Council President. So just as a refresher, because it's been many moons since the project actually started, New Jersey Bike Walk Coalition will be the managing entity. So now that the infrastructure is in place, they are working to make sure that there is a security camera in there, as well as like the fob access reader. So that requires internet connection first, which Comcast was there Monday and I believe today as well, but they were given a June 23rd for the modem hookup, and then a 3 to 4 day window to do the camera install after that. They're trying to, move both of those dates up, so we're kind of saying July right now, which looks pretty good, but it seems to be the June 23rd modem hookup is the key day.
Okay.
So.
And just one other thing, I know that we can't do anything until July 1 regarding Saltbrook, but I just wanted, do we have everything in place that we need, or is there anything that we need to accomplish before then so that we could start work as soon as possible after July 1st?
So again, through you, Council President, so the CAPS committee is pushing a resolution on the next council meeting, which is June 16th, to outlay a plan, and the July 1st, I'm assuming, just to clarify, is because that's when we have capital funding available, which
Correct.
I believe is going to probably be a little closer to August with the current schedule, possibly the CFO can opine. But in regards to the thing we could do advance would be the permitting, which we have some older drainage funding we could utilize, but I still recommend that happens after the June 16th when the plan is laid out, and then we could start that immediately. It is emergency permitting, so I know DEP and permitting kind of makes people uncomfortable. This is a relatively quick process.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah.
Can he go home now?
Yeah.
All right, thank you, guys. All right, At this time, we're going to open up our meeting to public comments. These are comments for things that were not on the agenda that people would like to come up and express their views about. As I mentioned earlier, please come up, state your name, your address, and please keep your comments to 3 minutes.
Hi, my name is Winifred Smith Jenkins, 1 Walnut Street, Summit, New Jersey. I would like to speak this evening about the traffic stop that took place on Friday, May 23rd on Walnut Street. I want to begin by saying that I come before you this evening with the deepest respect for law enforcement. My husband is currently a police officer, and I know personally that the most important thing at the end of any shift is for a police officer to get home safely. And we've also lived through the pain of losing a family member during a routine traffic stop. So I don't take the split-second decisions that officers have to make lightly. At the same time, I also carry the responsibility to protect the children and staff at our child care center, some of the youngest and most vulnerable members of our community. That's why I was deeply alarmed by the recent high-intensity traffic stop that took place just feet away from our program with guns drawn and no warning or notification to our staff. I'm not here to judge the police tactics of that day. My concern is about where it happened and the lack of communication that followed. Had anything gone wrong, over 120 children and staff could have been in danger. And unlike public school, child care centers aren't equipped with resource officers or reinforced infrastructure. We were completely exposed. We appreciate that the chief and the mayor have agreed to meet with us and my team next week to discuss these issues further. But it was important to me to be on record tonight to remind all members of City Council and the community at large that child care facilities deserve the same information, communication, and consideration as every other public educational institute in our great city. This moment opens up a wider conversation about how we value the youngest among us, the institutions that care and educate them as a community. It's not just about one incident. It's about recognizing that childcare is foundational to the well-being and functioning of Summit. As someone who was a Summit resident for over 30 years, I love this city, and I know we can do better. So we're asking kind of 3 simple things: a clear protocol for notifying childcare programs during or after nearby police activity, better coordination between law enforcement and early childhood learning facilities, and a seat at the table when decisions are being made about the safety in our neighborhoods, because our kids deserve the same protections and considerations as those in our public school. We cannot and should not be an afterthought. Thank you for listening, and I look forward to working towards a safer Summit for all. Thank you.
Thank you. Those were great comments. Thank you. Other comments from the public?
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, Council. I will be remaining anonymous again. Excuse me. I come here to speak to you not only in my personal capacity, but also the head of an organization called the Neutralization of Council Meeting Conduct. That's NCMC, of NJ for short. Part of what I was doing here, this is my 3rd council meeting, and my purpose is to create an evaluation that will be then sent to New Jersey through the proper channels on council meeting conduct. I've been to many meetings across the state, and the first thing I want to mention is when I came here originally to speak, and the borough attorney, through the chair of the borough attorney, he not only did he attempt to restrict, silence, suppress, he told me I have to get away from the podium for speaking because I was remaining anonymous, my 4th Amendment right. Thank God we have a competent council president who understood that that was a violation of people's rights. So even though I come here and I'm critical to what people do, it shouldn't be hard to hear. As you said earlier, Council President, criticism is hard to hear. It shouldn't. If people stand firm in their beliefs, they should welcome all types of, confronting different opinions and stuff like that. So I'm still conducting this evaluation, so there's still some points that can be added or reduced to the final evaluation. I'm not going to be able to get to everybody because unfortunately it's only 3 minutes. That's why I say we should respect the public and at least respect them for 5 minutes. But I will try to touch on as many things as possible. Council President, you get an A for knowing how to conduct a meeting. I've been to meetings all across the state. The way you conduct a meeting is excellent. It's absolutely excellent. When people speak out of turn, you do a de-escalation tactic. You don't see it often. You say, people interrupt, we're going to take a 10-minute break, come back, interrupt, we're going to do it again. We can do it all night. That is a de-escalation tactic. It's probably because of your, I believe you're also an elementary school teacher?
High school.
High school, okay, same thing. These meetings can get like an elementary classroom or a high school classroom, I'm sure, all day. So I thank Council President for the job you do. These residents should feel proud to have you representing their community. And the people of Summit, they get an A. I do believe the people here are very compassionate and caring about their neighbors. I don't like the distinction that's made when we try to separate out-of-towners from people who live in Summit. Even Councilman Boyer, as you stated before, and you said it was fair what I was saying, you then started shifting into this, you know, people who don't live in Summit. A lot of people who don't live in Summit were at these meetings because of this. And I only have 2 seconds left, that's not enough time. The mayor, she gets an A as well. For when I asked about the library and people looking at porn on the library, you said First Amendment. And you are correct, that was the only right answer, and you gave it, so thank you.
Thank you very much for your comments. Oh, an A. That's pretty good.
I've never gotten an A in my life.
Tracy Keegan, 15 Sweetbriar Road. First, before I make the comment about why I came here tonight, I want to correct the record in 2 spots. Councilman Boyer, as for your disparagement of the former council, I want to remind you that they reduced the unhoused population by 44 people during their tenure, and they also brought together the stakeholders that began coordinating efforts. As for Mr. Smallwood's biblical interpretation, I want to point out that St. Paul's letter to the Thessalonians did not say those who are unable to work. It said those who are unwilling. And I'm quite sure that St. Paul would never withhold care for our unhoused or our poor. So that being said, 1 month ago, Councilman Pawlowski became aggressive with me when I asked him a question about the school budget process on his official Facebook page. Instead of answering me, he taunted me and lied about me, very similar to comments his party shared about me just the day before on their own page. He also came very close to the line, if not crossing it, of libel. I informed Mr. Pawlowski multiple times of his mistake, asking him to take down the comments, which he did not. After emails were exchanged about the incident with council leadership, my husband and I met with the mayor and others in her office for an hour-long meeting, an action suggested by Council President McTiernan. There, Mr. McTiernan repeatedly stated that he has asked his fellow Republican council members to tone down their online comments to no avail. Basically, that they are unwilling or unable to control themselves. After the meeting, we followed up with a simple request. We wanted the city to clarify the law or rules around elected officials and social media. This ask was based on the fact that we were informed that the city clerk advised that it would be illegal for Mr. Pawlowski to delete his statements about me because they are part of his official record of communications. The takeaway is that the city considers anything a council member posts on their official social media pages to be an official communication from the city, even if they are lies, taunts, or libel. Since I got no response to my follow-up email to you all, I'll ask again. Is this a correct understanding? And if so, why are you not also advising him that he can't meaningfully edit anything he's written, which goes hand in hand with the deletion prohibition? Mr. Pawlowski did edit his posts about me, many times, which I will submit for the record tonight. By editing his comments that hundreds or even thousands of Summit residents have already read, he is not operating in service of the truth. No one gets an alert that a comment they read or liked on their elected official's Facebook page has been edited. No one will know that he has now softened his accusations. This is a First Amendment violation, per the city's policy. On the other hand, if the city does not consider everything an elected official posts to be subject to First Amendment guidelines, then it would fall on Mr. Pawlowski to bear ownership of his lies and taunts, freeing the city of responsibility and allowing for deletion or editing of social media posts. Given this is not the first time, and due to an apparent lack of an official framework or ability to control behavior, very likely not the last time that Mr. Pulowski or some of his colleagues will behave this way, I would like the city to clarify their position on this. Thank you for letting me finish.
Thank you. Thanks for your comments.
Yate versus Hamilton, Carteret versus Toronto.
Thank you. Thank you. Other comments, please.
Public records. Chief, can you arrest him for altering public records?
Excuse me, sir. You've been awesomely respectful tonight. Let's keep it that, okay? You've had your comments. Thank you.
Jacqueline Lacercina. I'm here to talk also about honesty and accountability. Recently, Councilman Pulowski told one of his friends an untrue story about me. This friend then shared that untrue, negative story about me on an online public forum. Councilman Pulowski has apologized for this privately. He acknowledged he made a mistake. The story was actually about someone else. I'm here to ask for the third time that Councilman Pulowski publicly correct the record. One of my great-grandfathers used to say, when you put your name on something, you don't just represent yourself. You represent this whole family. So when I read the false statement about me, the first thing I felt was embarrassment. Even though I knew it wasn't true, I thought about my grandfather's words. And I thought, what is my family going to think when they see this? Even though I knew it wasn't true, my decency, my character, and that of my family were challenged. People continue to approach me about this, asking what really happened and if the story was actually true. Because, of course, the word of an elected leader carries weight. So I'm asking you again, Councilman Pulowski, will you please publicly share what you told me privately, that you made a mistake, that the story you shared with your friend was untrue? Look, I can take a lot of criticism. We can disagree about policy ideas. I can take those hits all day long. As we've heard here tonight, we have a lot of serious issues to deal with in Summit. And to deal with these issues, we need to be rooted in truth and accountability. I think it is reasonable for the community to expect that our leaders will be honest and that when they mess up, they make it right. Not just privately when it is easy, but also publicly, even if it is hard. Thank you.
Thank you. Other comments from the public?
Hello again, I'm Amanda Block. 8:15 Sunday night. It came as a surprise to learn that permission was rescinded to use the community center for the Know Your Rights training for local businesses set for Monday morning, 12 hours after that permission was rescinded. In response to growing feelings of anxiety in our community, legal professionals have led 6 different trainings through Summit since February. These trainings help people to understand what to expect and what to do if law enforcement engages a community member in public, at home, at school, or at work. These trainings have taken place in churches, at Summit High School, and at the community center. As you may know, Homeland Security has already visited 2 businesses in Summit. Employers scramble to figure out what to do to protect their business. Employees were afraid to go to work. That's how I found out about the visits, because the employees reached out to me for help, even if they are American-born or a naturalized citizen. The training this week, led by Alex Shalom of Lowenstein, was designed to help Summit businesses understand how to interact with federal law enforcement. The training, which I share with you so you can see what it contained, reviews judicial and executive procedures, the differences in warrants and other federal paperwork, what individuals and businesses should have on hand, and how to engage with federal officials when they visit. The entire presentation, which I'm happy to discuss with you, is designed to empower our local businesses who are law-abiding and essential to our community. The intention behind the information is to uphold and protect our local business owners, their businesses, their customers, their employees, and the general public. to cancel space usage permission of an event 12 hours before the event, an event that was publicized twice by Summit Downtown Inc.'s newsletter, so well over a month. It doesn't have to be this way. Rest assured, the event happened as scheduled, but at another location. Misinformation grows in isolation. We could have answered all of your questions and you would have seen how non-controversial the presentation was. You could have contacted me. I hope if we have another training that you'll join us, and please contact me directly with any questions that you may have regarding Grace, our programs, or any of our events. Thank you.
Thank you. Other comments from the public?
Hi, it's wrap-up time. I'm Philomena. That's all the information that I can give. Couple of things. I'm going to address Councilman Smallwood. In this country, we have the separation of church and state for a reason. Everyone is entitled to their religion. That's what this country was built on. I have my religion, it's very clear many of the people in this room do. It is not appropriate, being an elected official, to sit there with religious views. I'm sorry. Politics must remain neutral so that they govern everyone equally. Okay? But I do appreciate your comments, and I do support them. But the 3 minutes that you allow for speaking, please consider increasing that. You get 2 micro of opinion, whereas the council is allowed endless time. So please reconsider that. Council President, I'm going to reiterate, criticism is not your enemy. Criticism,
Did I say that?
I'm reiterating.
Good, I'm glad.
Because you and I kind of
We
had
agree.
a little separation on that.
I don't think so.
A while ago.
Not really.
Criticism
continue.
is not your enemy. Criticism is to point out your weaknesses. And the wise person listens to criticism in order to strengthen their point of view and to hear another view. So I applaud all of you that remember to do that, and those of you who have come to that. Next thing is traffic lights in this town. Why are the emergency vehicles not in control of the traffic lights? I don't know how many high-speed chases you've had, but regardless, every emergency vehicle, police officer should have control of the lights. You have someone who's trying to evade being, what's the term, captured, pulled over. They can easily change the lights so that that family that is trying to cross that intersection is not killed. Because guess who's going to get sued on that one? Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Other public comments? All right, I'm going to close the public comment portion of our meeting and move on to council comments and commentary and any new business.
Council President,
Councilman Boyer.
I figure when I speak first, it's a lot quicker than speaking last. So, Ms. Smith, you know what? That is your maiden. I'm sorry, Jesus. Winifred, It's so great to see you. You know, thank you. Your comments, they were great. I'm glad that you were able to speak to the mayor and police chief. And you're right. Our public schools are like locked down, so we can always get better. So I'm glad that actually came up, and I'm glad nothing happened. Right. So that is a really good thing. Speaking of police, our Mountain Valley Emergency Communications, they're hiring. If you know anyone that needs a job, that is interested in law enforcement type work, it's a good job. So please be on the lookout for that. The other thing is, I want to say Hometown Heroes is an amazing program. I want to thank Councilwoman Hamlet because I know she's been on that committee for a couple of years now. And, you know, I didn't realize the significance of it until I was looking at Facebook and someone was saying, you know, yeah, that's my uncle, and right out front of the list. And he used to go there. And then I saw my uncle recently was one of the inductees. And he was right outside of one of the St. John's Church where he went to AA service. And now when his friends come out of AA service, they see him up there. That's like, man, that is like awesome. So I just want to give kudos to the Hometown Heroes. The Summit Housing Authority, we're still having some meetings on that. I hope that we can make some decisions on how we can help the residents there. It's been 1.5 years now, and I've been talking about it, and hopefully we'll be to the finish line at some point. Let's see. Talked about the park line. Things that we have coming up. Family Fun Night. I think Family Fun Night is great. Please come out. Check the city website for that. And that is all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Pulowski.
Thank you. So, when I was door knocking in 2023, a resident on Ms. La Saracena Street refused to talk to me and shut the door in my face. I was told it was her house, and I believed that it was her. I did not make the post that she referred to when she spoke, but when I heard that Ms. La Saracena stated it wasn't her, I took her at her word, immediately called her to apologize, and immediately asked that the poster take it down, which they did the same day it was posted. She and I were able to connect several days later, and I apologized. I also invited her to send anybody concerned about the post to me, and I would tell them that it was not her, and that invitation stands. That's it.
Thank you. Other comments from council? Councilman Smallwood.
Thank you, Council President. First, I wanted to let the public know that the tier garage elevator the flooring in the tier garage elevator will be replaced tomorrow. So if you go to the tier garage and you need to use the elevator, unfortunately it'll be unavailable. It may not take the entire day, but at least for the morning and most of the afternoon, it will be closed. Just simply replacing the flooring in that in the elevator. I appreciate your comment about the church and state, and you're absolutely right, and I agree with you. However, I did want to, since I was fact-checked, in my notes, if I misread this, I apologize. What I meant to say is, and paraphrasing, obviously, because I only listed 2 Thessalonians, Paul writes, "The one who is unwilling to work shall not eat." After your comments, I did do a search for the exact wording of 2 Thessalonians 3:10, the King James Version, "For even when we were with you, this we commanded you, that if you would not work, neither should you eat." Obviously, there are many versions of the Bible. We do have one here, so if, after the council meeting, we can double check that. But if I misquoted anything, I apologize.
Thank you. Other comments from council? Yes, Councilwoman Camelson.
Thank you, Council President. I have a few notes here from a few public comments. First, Amanda Block, thank you for always meeting the community when you see a need. You're always pivoting and finding out how to serve the community, and we appreciate you for that. I saw that you put the information into public records, so I look forward to reading that. Thank you. Philomena, that's a good question about our traffic lights. I don't know. Our city engineer was here, and I feel like he would definitely know. I don't know if our council president knows, but I'm going to look into that. That's a fantastic question. And I agree with you. I think we should either give the public more time to speak, or we ourselves should possibly be on this 3-minute timer, because I don't think that many of us need more than 3 minutes when we speak. Also, election season is starting, and I think we should all really be mindful about our words and what we say. And, there are 90 towns that have Tap Into. There are only 2 that do not allow letters to the editor because they're so vicious. There are only 2, and Summit is one of them. Summit and Berkeley Heights are the only 2 that cannot have letters to the editor. And I think we can change that. I think that, I think we need to call things out when we see things. Personal attacks, there's no place for the personal attacks. And I think we're the leaders, so we need to start calling it out when we see it, no matter whose side it's on. If you have a problem with somebody's policy, that's fine, talk about that. But the personal attacks need to stop. That's what really prevents people from running for council. It's not the work, it's not the volunteer hours, it's the fact that they don't want their name dragged through the mud, and they don't want to have to explain things to their children. Something similar happened to me, and I just really think it's very important to me that we call it out no matter whose side it's on. And I think we could be a much happier town if we stop fighting on Facebook. Thank you. That's all I have today.
Thank you. Other comments from council?
Council President.
Councilman Boyer.
I just don't want to be hypocrites here, right? Because, all the time. Yeah, I'm an elected official, I can speak. Yeah.
No, please.
So I don't want to be hypocrites, right? If you can go on my Facebook page, there are vicious attacks at me, like on almost every post. I could post, let's have a good, happy Friday, and people will come at me and say like, I hope Jesus saves you or something like that. Let's not be hypocrites. You could go look on my Facebook page and see who's doing what, and I hope we can have a conversation with those people. And then, hey, on my end, I'll have a conversation with those. But let's not just say it and for it not to be true. So, thank you.
Thank you. Other comments? Councilwoman Hamlet.
I'll be brief. I just want to again thank everybody for your continued engagement throughout this process. I said it all earlier. I also want to thank the city staff. Rosie, every day, they're long days, and I know this has been a stressful couple of months for the staff. So I just want to say thank you for all you do. You come in early, you leave late. They're really long days for our employees. So thank you for all you do. I believe the only one I know of, I'd have to ask Chief Peters around the lights, but I know the fire department controls the most recent one as you turn the corner from the new firehouse. We put that technology in, but it's a great question because I don't know if it exists elsewhere. Yesterday, was it Sunday? Sunday, Councilman Smallwood and I, we went into the middle of the Salt Brook. Somehow we crossed through the Salt Brook and saw actually a completely different perspective of the Salt Brook. We walked all the way over in the water towards Sunset, which was unbelievable to look at because some of those houses are just the amount of new erosion is shocking over the last 2 or 3 weeks. So
I would just encourage that we come to a resolution on our plan for that. I know we have it in the works, but every day it's getting worse, and we saw it firsthand. And we can post some pictures later, but it's devastating. So, but thank you all for coming.
Thank you. Other comments? All right, I'll just wrap up a couple of things. One, there has been over the last month a bunch of comments around, Bill of Rights and not giving your name, et cetera. Look, I'm all for all that. The reason we do this, the reason I ask people to do it, because it gives your comments some context that people up here can understand. Where are you from? Do you live in Summit? That changes how I'm going to think about your comments. Are you a neighbor? Do you understand the town? Or are you from outside the town, where maybe you're bringing a valid but different perspective? It gives context. That's the reason we ask for it. It's not to take away your rights or whatever. And I get, like, people may feel that way, and that's okay. I don't want to get in an argument about it. So if you want to do it, but that's the reason. It provides some context. The other thing too, it's kind of respectful. At least that's how I view it. Everybody up here, you know where they live, you know their name. They're an open book. They come here, they listen to criticism. You guys can say anything you want to them, everyone up here. We're officials. Comes with the territory. When I have a conversation with someone, it's good to know who they are. It's a human thing. And when you don't want to give your name, it lessens that interaction, at least to me. It's just my opinion, okay? It's my opinion. And that's why I think it's important, okay? So that's one thing. Second thing, Facebook. For the record, I don't just tell Republicans to be nice on Facebook. I tell everybody. I tell Democrats to be nice on Facebook. I tell everyone I talk to, get out of the comment section. It's a swamp. No one ever has their mind changed on Facebook. And people who go there, I'd say I liken it to, if you go into the sandbox and you want to play there, you will get sand kicked in your eye. Don't go in there. And I'll say it again for Ms. Keegan, who left already. Everyone should get out of there. It's not a good place for dialogue. Call your elected official. Email them. I like having a coffee with people. It's much more productive. I will just tell you that. Okay? So that's one thing. And then the last thing. Ms. Block talked about a meeting at the community center. We have an MOU with Grace. My understanding is that Grace is a food bank. They do amazing work distributing food to our community. That's the relationship where they occupy our community center rent-free to distribute food. That's what it's there for. Now, it may be construed that this meeting was about rights or what have you, but I would suggest that others may think this is political advocacy. And I'll read through this, but I guarantee that other people may think so. I will tell you what it's not. It's not distributing food. And if that is what Grace wants to do, then we need to think about our MOU and what should be allowed in city-owned property. It's the city. And we have to be careful about what city property is being used for. And if it strays into what could be considered to be political advocacy, it has no place in a city building. Do it someplace else. Church, wherever. That's great. That's where it should be done, but not in a city. We can't be seen to be advocating for that type of stuff in a property. So we can get together, we can talk about it. I'd certainly welcome that. But that is where, when I saw this, that's my concern, because I received a lot of phone calls about this and people who looked at the flyers and such, and they had a different interpretation than yours. And they're allowed their interpretation too. So that was the result of that. So if we could meet. I'd love to. So, and that's it. That's all I have.
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. We are adjourned.